Today we're going to take a look at Guitar for the Practicing Musician. This is from January of 2004. So from the looks of it, it looks like this would be from 1988 or 87, but they did Heroes of the 80s, and I love Guitar for the Practicing Musician. I miss this magazine a lot. But anyway, got a great picture of Eddie on the cover. He's got that fresh beak neck on the Frankie that we saw through 84, through the up to the 5150 era. So we got Randy Rhoads in here, Yngwie, Stevie Ray, George Lynch, Paul Gilbert, Satch, Vi. Lots of good stuff. And man, the songs in this, the tablatures were great. Eruption, Back in Black, Marching Out, Crazy Train, Seek and Destroy, Lay It Down. I got to take a look at that Lay It Down tablature. I got to refresh myself on that. And I never learned Satch Boogie, Pride and Joy. I know that, but there's some quintessential Stevie Ray licks I need to research. I got to go back and look at that. There's some Stevie Ray licks that still elude me to this day. He plays them. I'm like, I got to learn that. Then I forget to go back and research it. So anyway, what the heck have we got here? Eric Johnson with that spiky haircut. Everybody in the early 2000s was going for that blonde tips on spiky hair look. I don't know if that's Eric Johnson or Stifler that we're looking at there, but anyway, he's promoting the GHS nickel rockers. Those are great strings. Look at this picture of Yngwie. This is a strange picture because first of all, he's playing a lefty sunburst Stratocaster, kind of Hendrixy style, instead of that yellow. And that doesn't look like this thing's got scallop necks. This is an old picture of Yngwie. He's got this weird perm going on. He stole one of Ozzy Osbourne's crosses, probably backstage as an opening act. He snatched that out of Ozzy's locker. I don't know. All right, so let's keep going. I could go on forever. So what are these 80s heroes doing now? Same thing they were doing in the 80s. Setting the world afire with brilliant, unearthly, and searingly beautiful guitar playing. It's a cool Ibanez ad. I like it. It's funny, 2004 wasn't, well, it was long ago. It was 18 years ago. I mean, but still 18 years ago, look at all the CDs. CDs were still, I like CDs, but man, CDs were the thing. CDs and DVDs. Got the whole entire Twisted Sister catalog. I don't know why I thought that was funny. I just did. Yngwie catalog. All right, next. Greatest guitar albums of the 80s. These lists are always so subjective. I mean, who decides this stuff? But they're there to create tension. Number 1, Blizzard of Oz. So whoever reviewed this and made this list was clearly an Ozzy fan. Looks like only one Van Halen album topping out the 80s. All right, Back in Black came in at number 2. Clearly, in my opinion, Back in Black is far superior as a guitar album than Blizzard. I mean, the iconic riffs in both are great. Randy's a better shredder than Angus, but Angus is the man, and Back in Black is by far, should be ahead of that. But I'm going to try to refrain from my opinions because everyone's got their own opinion. This is interesting. Number 3, British Steel. I've never even heard the album. Never was a Priest fan. Fair Warning ranked number 4 behind Judas Priest, British Steel. Okay. Maiden, Number of the Beast. Never was a Maiden guy. Think they're cool, but they're not one of my favorites. Pyromania, that's a great album. Very pop oriented, but rock. Midnight Madness, number 7 by Night Ranger. Texas Flood by SRV. I love Stevie Ray Vaughan. Couldn't Stand the Weather was after Texas Flood. I disagree from a guitar player's perspective that I like Texas Flood. Great album, but I think his playing on Couldn't Stand the Weather was better. Just because that was earlier doesn't mean it's better. I mean, maybe y'all have different opinions, but Alcatraz, No Parole from Rock and Roll. Alcatraz to me did not have catchy songs, so I'm sorry. I think that it has to be a mix. I think you have to have catchy hooks and riffs. I bet you there's nobody that's watching this video. There's probably not one subscriber on my channel. Granted, there's only over 6,000, but I bet you there's not one subscriber that could play a Alcatraz lick. If you said, play me something from Alcatraz, prove me wrong, all right? So, Flexible. Steve Vai's a great guitar player. I wouldn't classify this as a great guitar album. I mean, there's songs on this album that don't have any guitar, like Salamanders in the Sun. Okay? And you can't really say that Little Green Men is a shredder. But, all due respect, I love that album because it's just so weird. All right, Love It First Sting. Fantastic. Matthias is one of my favorite guitar players, probably top 5. I think this should have ranked higher in consideration of this, what we've got on this page. Out of the Cellar by Rat. DeMartini, clearly a great player. Glad to see him get some respect. Ride the Lightning, 14. Yeah, great album. I don't think that should have went higher than Justice. Okay, 84. I think 1984 and Fair Warning should have ranked top 5. I think Fair Warning should have been like probably number 2. Back in Black maybe number 1. Master of Puppets definitely should have been ahead of Ride the Lightning in my opinion, and I think Injustice probably, from a guitar player's perspective, Justice probably should rank better than this, just from a guitar player's perspective, even though I like that album better. All right, I said I was going to refrain from my opinions, so I'm clearly not doing that. I'll try my best to continue without being too opinionated. Dokken, Under Lock and Key. Not a Lynch fan. Okay, Rising Force, Metal Fatigue, Holdsworth was 19. I couldn't tell you one Alan Holdsworth song. I know he was influential to Eddie Van Halen. I don't own an album. I couldn't tell you one song, so maybe I should investigate. Marching Out by Yngwie, 18. I can understand that. Sign in Peace, or Sign in Please by Autograph. Autograph should be nowhere near this list. Here I am injecting my opinions again. Bon Jovi, Slippery When Wet. Tones by Eric Johnson. Okay, Eric Johnson had Cliffs of Dover off of Ave Musicom, and Ave Musicom, I don't even, looking forward here, I don't even see it in the top 32, and this album is no way, shape, or better, no way even close to being as good as Ave Musicom. All right, Master of Puppets, Peace Sells, Rain and Blood. My speed metal, thrash metal fans probably totally disagree with this listing. Eat 'Em and Smile, number 26. That should have probably been above Flexible. Okay, Edge of Insanity. I remember having this on cassette. Didn't blow my skirt up, even though I think McAlpine's great. Vinnie Moore is a great player. I never heard that album in its entirety, but I know he's awesome. Tribute. This is a great album. This really showcases what Randy could do. Thought the studio albums from Ozzy were awful production-wise, and I was always disappointed how they produced Randy Rhoads. I think his amp was recorded terribly. But this really shows off what he sounded like live, and it's fierce. It's downright scary. It's terrifying in ways. Anyway, Surfing with the Alien. Yes, definitely a instrumental album, no pun intended, in launching instrumental guitar work. Whitesnake, John Sykes, killer. Mechanical Resonance, fantastic. Tesla album, great guitar stuff. Frank Hammond, I think is his name. Hannon is his name, and Frank is a great player and orchestrates awesome guitar parts. Appetite. This probably should be ranked a lot higher. I know we've all heard it 10 million and one times, but the work between Izzy and Slash on Appetite is near perfection for this style of rock and roll. White Lion Pride, Vito's great player. Thought he was a little stiff, but he's a great player. Right Testament, never was a Testament guy, but I respect Skolnick. Operation Mindcrime, went through a phase of my life around 91 to 93, and I think all I listened to was like For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge, and Operation Mindcrime, and the Black Album. I think for like 2 years straight. and Hysteria, I studied Mutt Lange guitar stuff for. I know that's kind of lame, but all right. Vivid Living Color. Don't like Vernon Reid. Sorry, guys. Winger, Red Beach is great. I don't think that's a great guitar album. Perpetual Burn, Jason Becker, much better. That should be very high compared to any of this stuff. Dragon's Kiss, Marty Friedman. I had that. He embellished a little bit far too off in some of the weird exotic, but I guess that's what makes it cool. Racer X, I've got that on vinyl. That talk about a fierce combination of guitar players. Blue Murder. Man, this really brings back a lot of memories on how bad some of the 80s stuff was. High Tension Wires, Steve Morse. Great player. Guitar Shop, this was cool. This was a good Jeff Beck album. I think that should have maybe placed higher. Gretchen Goes to Nebraska by King's X. Cool. Fate's Warning. Perfect Symmetry. Don't really have an opinion on that. I'm not familiar with those guys much. XYZ Enigma. I can't say I've listened to that. Danger. They were kind of a music video band. They sounded good. Skid Row. This first Skid Row album touched a lot of people. I never really thought Sabo. I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to get myself in trouble on this list. Extreme. The first Extreme album. Oddly, it beat out Pornograffiti, which I think came out in the late 80s. I don't think it was 90, maybe 89, 88. But yeah, it's a great song. Mother Don't Want to Go to School Today. That's still a jammer. All right, this is a polarizing list. There's a lot of this stuff that I totally disagree with. Avia Musicom did not even make this list, and bands like Danger did, and XYZ. And Satriani had Flying in a Blue Dream. That's not on here. Off the top of my head. 5150 wasn't even on there. 5150 is a great guitar album. Okay, I'm going to calm down a little bit. I need to take a chill pill. Look at these dudes. Judas Priest, Tipton and KK Downing. Up to par. Not going to really do this interview. We're just trying to skim through this and see. This is the guitar tandems section, not the greatest bands, so to speak. Iron Maiden. One thing I respect about Iron Maiden is, with all the guitar work going on, they really keep it together and work on some killer parts, and you cannot deny their fan base is probably the best fan base of probably any metal hard rock band out there to this day, and their stage show it's on par with the best. They bring it to this day. Always have. Def Leppard. Steve Clark hanging that Les Paul real low. Looks like he's playing a studio there. Phil Collins before he got ripped. Playing a Destroyer with a Floyd. I really was bummed when Steve Clark passed away. I mean, his riffs were so good. So good. All right, Night Ranger. Brad Gillis, tremendous player. Interesting stories about him and Ozzy. If you ever listened to any of his interviews about that whole process when he filled in, tremendous stories. And what a stand-up guy. And then to leave that and exceed still with Night Ranger. Wonderful stuff. Tesla. There's Frank Hannon. Great player, man. his hair looks like straight off the set of Dukes of Hazzard, though, I gotta say. I mean, if Bo Duke grew his hair out a lot longer and gained a little bit of weight from eating at the boar's nest a little too much, he'd look like Frank Hannon. I'm one to talk. My hair is not the greatest either. That is a killer SG custom. That is wonderful. Cool. Yeah, the life of the 80s, man. Queensryche. Am I the only one that thinks that Chris DeGarmo looked like Jamie Lee Curtis, kind of? Him and Jamie Lee Curtis could have been like twin brother and sister. It gutted this band, clearly. I mean, duh, everyone knows it. When Chris DeGarmo left Queensryche, Queensryche was dead. I mean, they've had so much turmoil in the last decade with singers and Jeff Tate's drama with the band, but it was done when DeGarmo left. I think if DeGarmo had stayed, I think they wouldn't have had all this bickering. I'm full of opinions today. Randy Rhoads, this is nice. This is a great picture. I love these bow tie frets, polka dot V, holding it very classical. You can tell where his passion was, his roots. I read a thing that said he was planning on leaving Ozzy after the tour that he died on and pursuing classical music. I don't know if that's true or not, but I read something in regards to that. Look at this array of stuff. His classic creamy white custom, his Jackson V, sitting backstage. Cool, man. Here's another picture of Yngwie with that really awful poodle perm. Dude. All right. There's Yngwie there. Now he's got the yellow Strat. Looks like he's got his yellow Strat back in action. Some people think that fast guitar playing sucks. I think that most of the time it does too. So I guess he's been sucking for the last 20 years. I saw a live video of him recently, and Yngwie still got it. He gets a lot of grief. I met him before a couple times, and he's not the nicest dude on occasions, but he can still bring it. I think putting away personal thoughts about how someone is a person is difficult when you respect them as an artist. But anyway, Stevie Ray Vaughan, look at this, man. Look at that. This is a truly relic guitar. This is no Fender Custom Shop relic Strat. This is Stevie Ray's beat to crap, been through the flood, fell out of the truck Strat, played 40,000 hours, E minor pentatonic. This guitar has been played E minor pentatonic so much it can play it by itself. Saw him in Cornell University. Back for Couldn't Stand the Weather. It was killer. Like this, man. We see he's got 5 springs. He had that saddle tight to the body, man. Tight. Check it out. This picture was taken at almost 10:30 at night. So that was probably 30 minutes before the end of the show. He had cool hats too. See, cool hat. There's George Lynch. Looking terrible, but great player. At the hair, dude. Son, that mesh shirt. I've got one of these shirts from the 80s still. I'm digging that Charvel. That does not look like a Floyd on there. I don't know what that is. Maybe it is. It's just a weird angle. Looks like a Fender bridge. I don't know. He's a Van Halen school dropout. Aren't we all? When I was young, I played as fast as I possibly could. When it was too sloppy or not. Whether it was too sloppy or not. Yep, that's me today. There's Joe Satriani before he turned into a space alien. Saw Joe Satriani up close and personal for a signing once. This dude has more hair on his arms and shoulders than George Costanza. Just a personal, thought you guys might want to know that. But he has no hair on his head. He kept it everywhere else. Not sure why he's wearing these gloves. But, you know, it was cool. Love these guitars. There he is again. I just watched a 3.5 hour video on YouTube of Satriani lessons. Can't remember the name of the video, but it was a compilation. And dude, it was so good. Man, this is a big interview with Steve. Look at the fire, the flame guitar. Somebody let me know if it's still at Guitar Center on Sunset. I haven't been out there for a few years, but out in Hollywood they had the flame guitar on display along with SRV Strat, Van Halen's, one of Alex's drum kits, I think from the Fair Warning tour, 80's pedal board. I was going to do a kit and build one of these guitars, but I didn't want to have to sand inside all the flames and try to spray in there. I was like, man, that's too much work. So I didn't buy the kit. Maybe one day. There's an interview about Eat 'em and Smile. Are you prepared to be compared to Eddie Van Halen? I guess it's inevitable. It doesn't bother me at all. I think eventually people will realize that I have my own identity, and comparing the two of us would be like comparing Randy Rhoads versus Brad Gillis. That's a good analogy. There's Paul Gilbert. Paul Gilbert kind of looking like someone's sister. I hate to say that, but not that there's anything wrong with that, but Paul had questionable choices with his clothes and his hairstyle. I know he's a Van Halen fan, but I think he was going too much for the Bertinelli look there. Paul is one of my favorite players. He is fantastic, as you all know. Killer players, Ed. I've got one of these No Bozo shirts. Sammy Hagar autographed it at a other half show. It says Sammy Hagar right across No Bozos. Him and Mikey were laughing at the shirt. They were glad to see that I had it. Okay. Ted Templeman says, you can play acoustic guitar too? I thought, it's got 6 strings. What's the difference? Come on, you know Eddie. That's a lame quote. Sorry. Like Ted Templeman didn't know that there was no difference. What's the difference of your picking and tapping techniques? Out of habit, I use my middle finger and my thumb to hold the pick unless I'm playing with a bar, and which I hold with my middle finger. I tap my first finger and hide the pick with my middle finger. I saw Hendrix in the Rainbow Bridge movie, and I remember noticing he hid the pick with his middle finger. A lot of people hold the pick with the first finger, so it's easier to use the middle finger to tap. A lot of people also just tap freely. I don't. I always have to hold the neck. That way I get more stability. That makes sense. That's how I do it too. It's funny how you adapt to that stuff. What's the origins of Spanish Fly? I never owned an acoustic guitar except for the one my brother owned when I first started playing. Then in a family argument, my dad put his foot down. It was the end of that. Anyway, we were over at Ted Templeman's house in New Year's in '78, and he had an acoustic in the corner, and I picked it up, started playing. He walked over and said, you play acoustic too? And I said, it's got 6 strings. What's the difference? He said he thought it would be neat for the next record if I did a little guitar piece. So I came up with Spanish Fly. All right, we're into the tablature section here. We got Eruption. I think the rest of the magazine, I think they put all the tabs at the back. There's Seek and Destroy. I love this riff in the beginning. Yeah, it sounds just like that. Crazy Train. I need to learn the solo. I never learned the Crazy Train solo. Sort of did once. I need to learn that. I'm going to keep this magazine out, and I am going to learn Crazy Train. I'm going to learn some of these Yngwie marching out licks. My homework assignment, fellas. I'm going to learn some of this Warren D. Martini stuff. I want to check and make sure I'm doing the intro to this thing right. Usually Guitar for the Practicing Musician had really, really good tablature. I never liked Satch Boogie. I love Satriani. He's one of my favorite guys. I love Satch. I listen to him a lot still. Super Colossal and Crystal Planet are my favorites. I never learned Satch Boogie. I really didn't like the way it grooved. I thought it was a Hot for Teacher ripoff. Just like The Audience is Listening by Steve Vai. Never cared for it. Anytime I heard someone really ripping off that boogie that sounded sort of like Van Halen but was stale, I just couldn't do it. So it didn't appeal to me. It didn't have the swagger or the swing. But it's a good song. I mean, it's technically like killer, but I'd much rather play something like Pride and Joy. I like groove, guys. I like blues. I like groove. I like swing. I love Eric Johnson, Stevie Ray. I like stuff like John Sykes. It's got a lot of emotion in it. I like Paul Gilbert because of the controlled speed and the dexterity. I like Steve Vai and Satriani. I like Vai because Vai is so crazy and eccentric, mixed with theatrics. I like Satch because he is basically like Hendrix on steroids. I love Jimi Hendrix just because stuff like Machine Gun live is so fun to listen to. You discover new stuff every time you hear it. Of course, King Edward. Yeah, you can check this out. This was like '04. I bought this at the Great Escape in Nashville for 99 cents. Here he's playing a Wolfgang, a PV Wolfgang special, because this was '04. But on the cover, being '04, PV Wolfgangs were still being manufactured, but on the cover we got the 80's Kramer with beak neck. Well, there you go, guys. Hope you enjoyed the magazine. Thanks for checking out the channel. Please subscribe. Please comment below. And until next time, have a great day. Bye.